Hey, what's going on everybody? This is John with GoWesty again. Today I'm going to give you kind of a walkthrough on how to set up your auxiliary battery and the extra components that go with it. In this video I'm going to cover auxiliary battery installation, component placement and wiring, and then dive into how we like to set up a charger, inverter, flashlight, and a solar panel into that system. These components can be added to any auxiliary battery system at any time, and you can use this video as a reference whether you decide to install these one by one or all at once. We'll start with the second battery relay, part number 411-915-511B. This relay is a stock component of 1984 to 1991 full camper Vanagons, located under the driver's seat. This relay controls when power is distributed to the refrigerator, sink pump, and galley display panel, and becomes repurposed with our auxiliary battery kits. We'll get into how that is in just a second. Right now, let's check out the auxiliary battery itself. Depending on which model battery you use, there are quite a few options for placement. Smaller batteries tend to fit nicely under the driver's seat, while a larger battery can be placed in the cabinetry next to the refrigerator. Wherever you choose to place the battery, be sure that it is fastened down well, so that it won't be able to tip or move. So with the location of the battery selected, let's move on to the isolator. This comes in our kit with a circuit breaker wired into one side. We mount the isolator and circuit breaker on the floor of the compartment under the driver's seat along the inboard wall. I like to make all the battery positive connections with the battery ungrounded and ground the battery as the last step when everything is installed. This will help prevent any shorts from occurring during component installation. With the wire coming from the circuit breaker connected to the auxiliary battery positive terminal, we need to supply the other side of the isolator with a connection to the main battery, or engine start battery. To do this, unplug the wire connected to the center number 87 pin of the relay I referenced in the beginning of this video. The wire you just unplugged runs to a small 2-fuse panel at the bottom of the B-pillar. It then exits the fuse panel and travels behind the cabinetry to a plug at the LED panel on the stove face. The end of this wire that was connected to number 87 pin of the relay needs to be connected to the positive terminal of the auxiliary battery. The LED panel will now show the capacity of the auxiliary battery, which will be powering the camping equipment. Now take the wire coming from the engine start side of the isolator and plug it into the center number 87 pin of the relay. Now we have one side of the isolator connected to the auxiliary battery and one side connected to the engine start battery. The last step in this process is giving the isolator a signal, which we can get from the relay as well. The number 30 pin is only powered when the van is running and supplies power to the refrigerator. Unplug the refrigerator power wire from the number 30 pin of the relay and plug it into the tab of the connector on the end of the blue wire coming from the isolator. Now plug the two wires back onto the number 30 pin of the relay, and the first stage of our auxiliary battery install is complete. So now that we have an auxiliary power source, let's check out what we can connect it to and how to go about making those connections. Out of the package, our kit provides a long wire with an inline fuse on one end. This is ran from the auxiliary battery positive terminal under the carpet on the driver's side floor and up into the area behind the fuse panel. This will supply power from the auxiliary battery to the van's camping equipment and stereo. These connections are made behind the fuse panel and covered thoroughly in our instructions. While using the provided wire with an inline fuse works perfectly, another option is to use an auxiliary fuse panel to control the distribution of power from the auxiliary battery. While these can be found in a variety of sizes and fuse types, we've had the best results with the 6-fuse model we sell on our website, part number 13855. These can be easily installed near the isolator. Simply add a wire to the circuit breaker post and then connect it to the fuse panel post. This block can now be used as protected power source for components to be powered by the auxiliary battery, like the camping equipment in the van. Now let's check out the ProSport dual bank battery charger. We sell these on our site as part number GVW-Pro. Of all the shore power chargers we've tested, we found this to be the most reliable and best functioning. This will charge both the main engine start battery as well as the auxiliary battery. In order for the charger to do so, it must be wired to each of these batteries separately. The cleanest and most convenient way to do this is to mount the charger below the driver's seat and make the connections at the isolator. The main engine start battery wire of the charger is labeled and is connected to the same post of the isolator that the wire from the relay connects to. Now connect the other red wire from the charger to the post on the isolator that connects to the auxiliary circuit breaker. Even though the grounds exit the charger separately, they can be grounded locally together. Now moving on to a power inverter, even though we offer two different models, they both install the same way. Since the inverter is protected by built-in fuses, it's best to connect it directly to the battery terminals. By mounting the inverter on the cabinetry wall behind the driver's seat, the wiring can be ran easily down to the battery with the outlets facing into the van for easy access. Note that the inverter has two ground posts on its side, one large post and a smaller post. Simply use a smaller gauge wire to jump the ground between these connection points. Flashlights can be lifesavers when it comes to camping, and we found that the Streamlight Strion is the best around. It's super reliable and very compact, making it easily mountable in your van. As far as wiring the charging base for power, there's no on-off switch, so it will draw from the battery until the light is charged. We found that connecting the power input to the top post of the isolator works perfectly, charging the light only while the vehicle is running. If you decide to install a solar panel, mounting the controller box behind the driver's seat makes it easy to connect the power to the fuse panel so that this circuit stays protected and offers an easy local ground location. The wiring on screen can look a bit confusing, but now that we've broken it down one by one, we hope it's a bit easier to understand. If you feel comfortable enough to do your own installs, it will help you to understand your van a bit better, and be better able to tackle any problems that might come along down the road. A few small side notes: it can be very helpful to label your wiring connections at the fuse panel to simplify troubleshooting a component with a blown fuse. Also, there's a through hole directly under the driver's seat that accepts an 8mm through bolt and nut, which makes a great local ground for multiple components. So that about wraps it up. We really hope this helps everybody getting their campers dialed in for optimum use. All the products I've covered are easily found on our website, www.GoWesty.com. So have fun and happy camping.